Hello, my name is Aiden Maltzberger, and today I will be presenting why everyone should learn basic first aid. I'd like to start this informative speech with a personal example of mine that has happened to me within the last couple of years. I was out on a lake with a couple people I know, and suddenly we got hit with an incredibly large storm. Like, it was hailing, there was thunder, the water was choppy, it was super dangerous, and we were out there. We got stranded basically under the bridge at Joe Pool. And while we were heading back, we got out of our boats onto the dock, and one of the guys there slipped. He was a bit older, so he took the slip a bit hard, and especially his leg, which ended up being cut about 8 to 9 inches long. Like, it cut most of his shin almost completely open. Like, there was blood everywhere. It was very not fun event, but we had known, most of us had known basic first aid, so we were able to stabilize and kind of staunch the bleeding for the time at least, enough to get him into a hospital where they could, take him to the emergency room and sew it up. I believe that if we hadn't known basic first aid, he most likely would have been in a much, much worse condition, probably would have required a blood donation by the time we got to the hospital, because there was blood everywhere. Like, it was constantly coming out. It was not good. So, what is first aid? First aid is defined by the Red Cross as short-term life-saving medical aid. Basically, what that means is when something happens, you help then. You're not waiting for somebody. You are showing up and helping when things happen in order to prevent future injury or, lessen the severity of the current injury. For example, if someone falls on their head, if you didn't know first aid, y'all would just stand around and watch. But when you do, you go and you help them. You elevate their head, you make sure that they're comfortable, you check all their vitals, all that good stuff. Now, why does first aid matter is a question I hear fairly often when people are talking about it. They say, why should I know this? It's pretty basic knowledge. It should be, at least. If someone's cut, you close the wound or you suture it or whatever. If someone has a concussion, I don't know, give them water maybe. Well, because millions of people in the US at least, probably most likely worldwide, have been facing new medical emergencies such as heart attacks and choking and burns and whatnot. And you can't really deal with those without having first aid knowledge. For example, if someone has a heart attack, what are you going to do? They just kind of fall over on the floor. You can call the paramedics, but that's about it. You have no knowledge of what to do, and in those few minutes that it takes for the paramedics to get there, or even more, they could die or be seriously, permanently injured. For choking, if you try and do the Heimlich maneuver wrong because you've never actually done it before, you've never been trained, you could potentially break someone's rib, and you might not even dislodge what's in their throat, so they might still choke, which would lead to a lot of bad stuff happening very fast. For car accidents, that's just kind of situational. If someone has a really big cut across their face, it's, you patch it up or whatever, but most of the time you're going to have a concussion or some other brain injury from a car crash, and you don't really know what to do with that. Most people don't know that you need to elevate certain parts of the body depending on what's happening to the body. The benefits of knowing first aid, this is just a few of the ones by the Emergency First Response website. They say that it helps reduce severity of the after effects of injuries. For example, my friend who got his leg cut open, it probably helped reduce the size of the scar, I would say, wrapping it up and closing it as we did, and it made his journey to the hospital a lot more comfortable because he wasn't just sitting in a car bleeding out, which would have not been fun for him. He was constantly being checked on. He had bandages wrapped around him. We gave him a Dr. Pepper because his blood sugar was low. Just stuff like that, it makes him a lot happier. It makes him in much higher spirits as compared to if he were alone. He would probably just be thinking, this sucks, I might die here. It allows you to potentially save lives, obviously. Stuff like that. Very general, keeping people alive type stuff, which I think is a paramount skill to have. So, one thing that you in particular can do is go take a first aid course. TCC offers one, the First Aid, Red Cross, a bunch of different organizations offer hour-long first aid courses for certificates that you can do. They're all really helpful, and I would fully recommend taking one because it just tells you everything you need to know in that scenario. So you yourself can go save lives if you just take a first aid course, convince your friends to take a first aid course, any of that. As long as they have that knowledge, they can keep people from dying unnecessarily on the street, like from a heart attack. Alright, thank you for listening to my speech.